So hello and welcome to this webcast recording of the VMware EMEA 2018 review. The title of this presentation is a cloud management platform to manage all the things, and that's what we're going to talk to you about today, about cloud management. Before we start, I can ask you to put any questions you have in the chat window. There will be people monitoring the recording, and we will answer the questions as soon as possible. In the end, we have the possibility to ask questions live, but we first ask you to ask questions through the chat window. So afterwards, we can give you feedback. To continue, well, my name is Martijn Baecke. I'm one of the cloud management technologists here in EMEA, and I'm joined here by Matthew.
Yes, hello, my name is Matthew Steiner. I'm the other cloud management technologist in EMEA, and between Martijn and myself, we seek to bring our business unit closer to our customers and our partners and our field in EMEA.
Okay. Well, and to start, this is a review of the VMworld EMEA show, and that's where we presented our vision. And that's also something that we always start with, the VMware Vision. It's always about any device, any application, and any cloud. And if you look at VMware's vision, it hasn't really changed much over the last couple of years. We added a couple of clouds, so you now see Telco Cloud, you now see Edge Cloud, but it's always been any device, any application. The question is, from how do we enable basically digital business? And then the question comes from, Matt, how do we really do this digital business? How do we as VMware empower our customers to move towards that digital business?
Well, what digital business is all our customers out there are building software, basically. They're using software as a weapon to become more effective, to make more money, to get more customers. And sometimes we call that the digitization of their business, and software being the weapon so that they can have new routes to market. You see a lot of companies who are building applications on their mobile phones. We've all got mobile phones. We like to interact with companies on their mobile phones. So all the companies are digitizing their business. And which leads to, what does that actually mean? What that means is typically building applications and services. And those applications and services are varied in what our businesses are doing. And I always call it the left-hand side and the right-hand side. So the left-hand side here on the slide is talking about existing applications. So taking the existing applications that they've got, their traditional applications, and either just maintaining them because they're maybe not offering that much business value, but they need to keep them, or re-platforming them because the platforms they're running on are getting old and expensive to run. So let's put these existing applications on new platforms, or doing what we see probably the most in this space, which is multi-tier hybrid. It's taking a traditional application, carving off the bit of that application that potentially needs to change, that's offering the most business value, and putting that other bit of the application somewhere else. And then maybe putting it into the public cloud, maybe putting it onto another part of their environment, etc. But carving off that bit of the application that's adding business value and delivering new functionality. On the right-hand side, we have cloud-native apps, which are typically new applications that are being written. So refactoring, so that's taking an existing application and just completely rebuilding onto a different platform, recoding it in a sense, but using the same functionality or enhanced functionalities. Developing for cloud, so just going, right, we're going to do things new now. We're just going to write cloud-native applications that are written for services that are being provided by the likes of Amazon Web Services and Azure, and we're going to develop code in their clouds, and that is where we're going to run our new stuff. Or simply going replace. We no longer want to run our applications. We're just going to consume SaaS applications. And actually what you see in enterprises is all of these things. An enterprise is probably doing a bit of all of this. And this starts to lead to IT initiatives that we have in various organizations. And these are the key initiatives that we're seeing in organizations to support that application spectrum. So firstly, modernizing their data centers, and we sometimes call it get your house in order. You've got to fix the stuff that you've got, make it more fit for purpose for modern applications. We may want to extend to cloud. That means starting to understand how I can consume cloud and how I can extend my data center into that cloud. Develop for cloud is exactly what it says there. Developing new applications, having the capability to develop for cloud. What that also means is bringing in cloud operations and cloud automation, because if you just develop the cloud, you're still probably going to have some governance issues, and you're probably going to have to understand your costings that's going on there. So you do need to add, or you do need to have effective cloud automation and operations, and then deliver SaaS applications. You may need a way of doing that. And this is really where the meat of this presentation comes, which is, what did we announce at VMworld to support these initiatives? And we're going to drill into some of those announcements shortly. We're going to look at our operations technology, our automation technology, and some of our new SaaS technologies. But first, I'd like to talk about the entire, the VMware cloud. What is it? Oftentimes, you'll hear us talk of this from the bottom to the top. I actually start to talk to this from the top to the bottom because I think it makes more sense in that way. So first off, we'll do the next build, is the application layer that I just talked about. So this is another way of describing that application layer, providing applications that provide a consistent consumer experience to your user. So we need to support those. And then we look at the next box, which is cloud operations and automations. This is what we call consistent operations. So something we talk about is having a horizontal layer of operations, a horizontal layer of automation across all the things that you're going to run and manage, and all the things that they're running on. And these are the operations that give you visibility, they give you governance, they give you automation, a whole load of other capabilities. I think Martijn's going to talk about those a little later. So that consistent operations, having consistency is really key, because if you don't do that, you'll end up having towers of operations. You'll have the Azure team, you'll have the Amazon team, you'll have the on-premises team. But the reality is your applications are spanning those towers. So if you have towers of operations and towers of automation, it's going to make it very difficult for you to span your services across more than one platform. And then looking at the infrastructure piece, how we consume infrastructure. I like to think a lot of this is solved problem. We consume on-premises infrastructure, we consume off-premises infrastructure. Your on-premises, hopefully you'll be running on vSphere, which will be, you'll be running on VMware Cloud Foundation, a combination of vSphere, vSAN, and NSX technologies. As you move to cloud infrastructure, you run the same technology in the cloud using our VMware Cloud on AWS or one of our 4,500 service providers. Or you may also be running native cloud service such as Amazon and Azure. But we like to try and keep as many common technologies across there as possible, so that you avoid the silos that you would see if you don't do that.
Yeah, that's basically what we do. So we work for the Cloud Management Business Unit. So we operate primarily in the consistent operations. But you now see within multiple companies, every company is currently being challenged from, we're moving from this private data center, this private cloud, and we now want to consume multiple clouds, because everybody's moving to AWS, Azure, or Google. And the question becomes always, and that's the big question we most of the times need to answer with our customers, how do you manage all those things? And I think that's a nice introduction to the next slide that Matthew's going to talk about.
Which is, what are all those things? Yeah. We've got some new things to manage. So if you come and spoke to us 2 years ago, we're talking to you about virtual machines. It's there on the left-hand side. Virtual machine was the thing. And we all had to manage things. It still is the thing. But there are a lot more other things now. So containers. They are not even a new consumption way of consuming infrastructure. Containers have been around for quite some time now. They're a common way of consuming infrastructure, and the different flavors of containers. We have our own technology, vSphere integrated containers. You've got technology from Docker, you've got technology from Microsoft and others. And actually, they're all things that we need to support on our common infrastructure. And then as you progress along that maturity curve, you have things like Kubernetes for container orchestration. You have OpenShift. We have Pivotal Container Service, so a bunch of containers as a service or container orchestration technologies. And that gives even further, we also see platform as a service or platform technologies. So it's no longer just the VM. As a provider, the IT department really has to provide more than just VM services. They have to provide container services. They have to provide Kubernetes services.
Well, and also what you see within multiple companies is that specialized teams are responsible for all those different things. But the question is, if you look at it from an IT operations perspective, IT is responsible for everything. It's not that you can say from this team is just responsible for Kubernetes and the rest all falls out. No, you need to deliver services. That's the goal of IT operations, delivering services towards the business so that they can go on this journey, which is basically digital transformation, to become a digital business. That's the end goal, to really become a digital business. And that's the thing we're trying to achieve. We are trying to provide the tools towards IT operations so that they can manage all those things.
Yeah.
That's the reason that's actually one of the goals that we do from a cloud management perspective. We are trying to deliver the tools so that you can manage all those different things. I think over the last couple of years, we've been primarily focused around the whole private cloud thing, and we've been highly successful in building private clouds, but we see the need for customers to not only manage private cloud assets, so virtual machines and containers, but also to move towards the public cloud. And then you're consuming services that have been provided as a service. If you go to Amazon or AWS or Azure, you can log into the portal, click a service, and it's there. But then the question becomes, again, how are you going to manage it? And that's a responsibility of IT operations. Hence the fact you see in the green box, it's all about visibility, it's about operations, it's about automation, security, and container management to, in the end, provide governance. That's the key goal.
Yeah, and that's not an exhaustive list in the middle. We were talking about this earlier. I think if we talk to you in maybe 3 months or 6 months time, you'll see some more stuff in there, particularly around the native cloud services that some of our new technology is bringing to you today. So when we talk about cloud automation services, we'll talk a little bit about how automation services puts the guardrails and the automation around things like Amazon's Lambda services. But anyway, let's move on to what we launched at VMworld, Martijn, and I think we're going to start with operations.
Let's move on. I mean, we first want to start with self-driving operations, and this has been one of the key narratives over the last couple of years to provide you really operations. We moved from the real operation side towards moving towards a real self-driving operations. Nobody today wants to put in manually which types of things that they need to monitor. Hence the fact that we put out this narrative, and it's a goal towards moving towards self-driving operations. The thing we're trying to do is this vision where we do self-driving operations, which automates and simplifies the life of our IT operations people. We don't want people to think it needs to optimize continuously, it needs to operate efficiently, and it needs to adapt to the environment. So not only for private cloud, not only for SDDC, but if we move into this world of multi-cloud, where AWS, Azure, Google, the monitoring system also needs to span across all those things. The key thing in there is that we need to adapt to that. And again, coming back to this manual thing, you can't do it all manually, and hence the fact we're now leveraging AI. This is the vision that we have for self-driving operations, but it's always a little bit far away for a lot of customers. When I talk about self-driving operations, it becomes a little bit, what is VMware talking about? Seems a little bit like a utopia, which actually isn't true. If you look at the definition of what self-driving is, and I've taken this example from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, but it talks about different stages from 0 to 5, where 0 is no automation. So basically that's the start. When we do from a monitoring perspective, you have to define what you need to monitor. But that's no longer feasible. If you wanted to move into this world where you not only need to manage your virtual environment, but also a public cloud environment, you basically can use a pair of hands. And those pair of hands are not going to be manual. Those have to be coming from the system. And that's the vision that we have. I spoke to you about from we're embedding AI and machine learning technology into the product. And this is a journey. So I'm not saying that we at the moment are at stage 5, but we're moving along this path. We're maybe at 2, 3. We're already incorporating AI and machine learning technology in our VROPS product today, but we want to move towards this fully automated system that gives you feedback by actually learning what's happening inside of your environment. And that environment is not specifically tailored around private cloud, it also needs to go multi-cloud. and it needs to provide you feedback from a vSphere environment, AWS, Azure, whatever you need to manage. The system needs to take care of it. So if you look at this journey, we actually plotted it towards what we are trying to do from a self-driving operations journey. And that's where you start always with effortlessly scale your operations. So that's really specific maybe to your private data center. But along the way, you want to scale that to also do monitoring and troubleshooting smarter, to efficiently utilize and plan. And actually, the key thing that you're trying to achieve with your monitoring system is to assure performance. The goal is, in the end, to provide self-driving operations, or as we're now coining, we coined the term software-defined data center. What we want you to move towards is a self-driving software-defined data center that can extend towards the public cloud, basically giving you that governance layer from a monitoring perspective across all those resources. Key to that is the AI and machine learning capabilities. Those need to be embedded into the product, and that's what our engineers and our product managers are currently focused on to deliver that technology. Well, to move on, to make it a little bit more tangible, so what are the three tenets to do self-driving operations? And I think the key goal here is that we want to provide continuous optimization with the business intent and the operational intent. That's the key goal that we're trying to achieve. The tenets that we currently have for that is continuous performance optimization, efficient capacity management, and intelligent remediation. And actually, that's reflected into the product. You currently see the dashboard that you get from vBLOS Operations 7.0 out of the box. In vBLOS Operations 6.6, we introduced the Clarity UI, but we also put focus on the three tenets: to optimize performance, to optimize capacity, and to troubleshoot. When you get a problem, you need to be notified as soon as possible, but you also need to take into account that the performance is being delivered and that you still have all the capacity available from your private and your public cloud resources.
So I think the new thing here, having worked this technology a long time, I think if we go back to some of the previous versions of the technology, a lot of customers said to us, they said, this is fantastic technology. It does exactly what you say it do, but it's quite hard to drive. I think sometimes I need to be a rocket scientist to drive it. We heard a lot of that. So we took some of our best people from the field, and we took them into our product group. And what they've done is they've created these new dashboards, these new swim lanes or use cases, and just make it very easy for you to very quickly get to these things without having to build it up yourself in the platform.
Yep.
So we've enhanced the platform to make it a lot easier for you to get started. So I guess one of the messages I would always have with our customers, if you've tried this before and you thought, I'm not a rocket scientist, I can't do this, try it again now and take a look at page 1 there and go and find out what's happening in your environment.
Yeah, this is out of the box, but it still gives you the ability to create your own dashboards, to actually export them. Well, actually, that's one of the capabilities. If we've looked what's now new in our vBLOS Operations 7 product, it basically now gives you a quick and easy way to do dashboard creation. So that gives you the ability to show whatever you want to show. But it is easily created in easy fashion. I think the focus that we're trying to create is in delivering services. You don't need to focus on building the dashboards. Most of them need to come out of the box. But if you want the capability to do that, well, we've now built it into the product. And one of the key things that a lot of customers ask for is for the ability to share those easily with our customers. So that's one of the key things we put in there. But to start from vBLOS Operations, what we really want to do is to provide this continuous placement, workload placement. So we actually built the integration between vBLOS Operations and vBLOS Automation, so that whenever vBLOS Automation tries to deploy something, vBLOS Operations gives feedback on where the optimal workload deployment should take place. And this is a continuous thing that takes place. It's not something that happens once, but actually vBLOS takes into account and feeds that back to vBLOS Automation so that you then can make a decision. This is where we get back to this whole self-driving initiative that we're trying to realize, is from the system needs to give you the feedback where you can make a decision from where something needs to happen. But as you can read from the screen, there's some couple of other things. Are there specific things that you want to address in the VBLAS operations thing that's still?
I think our new integrations with vSAN as well.
Yeah.
We've double-clicked on the SDDC. So what I mean by that is so many customers of ours now are consuming vSAN. So many customers of ours are now consuming NSX, and a lot of them are using this through VMware Cloud Foundation. These things, they need management. They need operational management as well. So they've come to our business unit and asked us to write some operational management tooling within various operations. So out of the box, there's a lot of rich capabilities for Vera's operations to manage vSAN and for VROps to manage NSX as well. So those SDDC management packs are very key to helping you get the most out of your Cloud Foundation technologies.
Yeah, and this is where you see various VMware technologies being integrated. So VBLAS automation integrating with VBLAS operations, and we're now also including in VBLAS operations a more real-time and predictive capacity and custom optimization. Previously, we were having, well, we still have the VBLAS business for cloud, but we're now trying to merge and integrate that so that you can get a full view, not only from what's happening in your environment, what actually is the cost, and if something needs to happen, that it then goes back to automation. That's the key value. We're trying to integrate all those products so that you can create one platform to manage your private cloud environment, but also not only being limited towards the private cloud, but also move towards the public cloud, because we're also extending in that. And that's maybe a nice bridge to move into the next subject, which we announced a couple of things.
Yes, our automation space, or we now starting to call this programmable provisioning across clouds. So I think what we've done here is, I mean, we've had a very successful technology, Vera's automation. And what I think we've done here, and this slide shows it really well, is we've taken a look at our technology, we've taken a look at what our customers are doing, where they're wanting to go with applications and services, and we've reimagined what automation should be done. And to a large extent, what we've done is we've decoupled many of these services within the automation platform to make us more flexible, or to make you more agile and more flexible in how you span this quite complex multi-cloud space, multi-application type space, and really give you the tools you need when you're delivering automation and when you're delivering governance in this space. So this is about reimagining our automation technology and making it much more flexible in this multi-cloud space. And we've done this in a number of ways. One of the key things we've decoupled is we've decoupled away the blueprint from the actual cloud. So what this allows us to do is have cloud agnosticity. And we've put policy as something else that's a thing within the technology, so we can do policy-driven provisioning. And what does this mean in the context of cloud agnostic? This means that I can actually have a catalog, a front end to my automation that says, I would like to deploy a workload into development. Now, the person who's doing that deployment doesn't need to know which cloud it's going to do. The platform itself will work through some logic and decide that, well, it's this person here, so they've got access to these clouds. It's development, so these parts of these clouds, and the workload will just land in the right place.
I think the key thing that Matthew is trying to address, we're moving away from just this cloud automation tool just for private cloud. I think we've been highly successful over the last couple of years to provide you an automation platform for basically evolving your virtual environment towards a private cloud. But the world moved forward is that customers are now not only starting to use or using their private cloud, they also want to use multiple clouds, either through our partners, through tools such as VMware Cloud on AWS, but also moving into the public cloud. So moving into AWS, moving into Azure. And that's where I come back to what I put in the narrative, which we discussed in the beginning. You need to manage across all those things. And that's where IT operations need to set the policies, basically the guardrails on how it's going to work. Automation is a key part of it. Cloud agnosticity is one part, but also to govern, for example, a centralized catalog and to be able to provide that not only to the lines of business, but to the developers. We began this whole presentation talking about applications. Developers are becoming key within enterprise customers. From an IT operations perspective, we need to provide, they are the consumers. That's the key goal.
Yes, and keep that in mind. The provider, that's you and IT providing services, and the consumers, your consumers are changing. And that draws out one really interesting, very small dotted line on this slide, which is Cloud API. So the API in our Cloud Automation Services generation of products is chalk and cheese with our older APIs. And this is because of the way it's been built. Back with some of the older technologies, we added API to something that was already there. With this technology here, we started with microservices. We started with API, and then we add the UI on top. So arguably, API is everything to the product. This means you can interact with a product in pretty much any way. And I have a lot of customers who really just want to interact it through the API. They're just automating absolutely everything. They don't want to go through a console. They just want to use the API, and they need it to be easy to use the API.
But this is the next thing. We're going to talk to you about that in a couple of slides. But let's first start with those customers that are currently are using the VMware automation technology, because we keep evolving the product.
Yes. Am I getting ahead of myself?
Yeah, you're getting ahead, but bear in mind, we are going to merge those two technologies at some point. But we continue to evolve the current products, which we have, the VMware automation product.
So let's look at what's new in Automation 7.5. And I think a lot of this is about rounding out this technology to support some more of these use cases. And some of the things that I'm going to pick out. So we've modernized the UI. I mean, I can hear people cheering on the webinar already that we've modernized the UI. We've brought our Clarity UI into the technology. It is just so much easier to use, so much more intuitive. It's not just about having different colors and different shape widgets. It's about having a different way of navigating through the slide. Another important technology we talk about integration with the SDDC. We now support NSXT within VRA. So there are now 2 versions of NSX that clients are consuming. NSXV, which is focused on vSphere, and NSXT, which is focused on the other platforms. And really, we need to support both of those NSX technologies. And some people are actually using automation as a bridge between those two technologies as well.
Actually, if you look at all the new capabilities, it's all about integration. So you see the integration with ServiceNow, you see the integration with NSXT, our new network virtualization technology, but also the integration in Ansible and Kubernetes, so with PKS. So it's all about integration, and that's the key thing that we are trying to achieve with VMware automation. It's not only a product by itself, but it needs to integrate with all the different solutions to be able for you to deliver that private cloud capabilities within the data center. And again, we're extending that. But this is just an evolution of a product that's already there, but we're now moving into the next phase.
And the next generation. So this is Cloud Automation Services. At VMworld, we've announced Cloud Automation Services and made it initially available. Cloud Automation Services is a SaaS service. So what you'll see from VMware now across almost all our products is we're taking our products and we're giving you consumption choice. So in the cloud management space, that means you can either consume our products as vRealize software that you install on premises, or you can consume it as a service that you rent from us as a software as a service solution. And Cloud Automation Services is one of our most important SaaS services that's now available to you to use. It's made out of 3 things. It's made out of Cloud Assembly, it's made out of Service Broker, and it's made out of CodeStream. So let's have a look at this in a little bit more detail, Martijn. So Cloud Assembly, this is probably the biggest component at the moment. This is where you build your services, you build your blueprints. This is where you create your assets. When I'm talking to customers, I often talk about the blueprint. It's an asset. It describes your service. It describes your service in the context that you need it to be described as. So the blueprint holds the policy. The blueprint will hold information about where the workload should be deployed under which circumstances. So for example, if you had a blueprint that was just a simple VM, and you said, well, if it's a development VM, I'm going to put it into Amazon, but if it's a production VM, I'm going to put it on premises. Well, that is the policy that you'll embed into the blueprint. And the blueprint will have that description, and the platform itself will put it in the right place when it gets to be deployed. Blueprints are now declarative, they're iterative, so you can make changes to those blueprints and have those changes applied. Also, the library of services is much richer. You know, back in the day, or when we look at going back into the history of business automation, it was focused around the virtual machine and the things you did with virtual machines. If you look at the content that you can build blueprints now with cloud automation services, you've got agnostic machines, you've still got virtual machines, you've got network constructs, you've got storage constructs, you've got cloud services such as Lambda, RDS, you've got services from Azure, and it's every time I log in, there's something new that you can build into your blueprints. And it's that makes it so agile, more flexible, you can pretty much build everything you want. So that's the cloud assembly. Looking at Service Broker is when we bring our multi-cloud catalog all together. So aggregation is a great word here. So what we don't expect you to do if you're consuming Amazon cloud services, for example, if you're using cloud formations within Amazon, we don't expect you to take what you've done already and create new blueprints within Cloud Assembly. You're probably going to use what you've already used in the tool for the cloud, or the automation tool for the cloud you've got. But what you do need is some form of service broker between your clouds, something that aggregates the content from different clouds and allows you to start to put the guardrails or the governance around that. Because these public clouds are brilliant, but often there aren't guardrails that reflect your organization. And if there are guardrails, you've got them separately in each individual cloud. Well, Service Broker gives you guardrails that work across all your clouds. So you can have single policy that works to provide governance across all those different clouds.
I think the key thing that we're trying to achieve with Service Broker is put the control back in IT operations. We come across a lot of companies where they've already using in pockets of the environments, they're using a bit of AWS, they're using a bit of Azure, a bit of Google, but nobody knows what's happening. And then basically it's shadow IT, as they tend to call it. And IT operations basically has no clue of what's happening. Fact is that IT operations most of the times is responsible for whenever something goes down. This tool gives you the ability to get the control back, but not limiting people from consuming it. The vision that we have around this is that people can still use the native consoles from AWS and Azure, but through Service Broker, we can define the policies. We know what cloud accounts they're using, and at that moment, we can detect if something does not comply with the policies. That's the vision that we have. It's really putting control back into the hands of IT operations, where we think it needs to go. IT operations provides to the application developers and to the lines of business who do basically provide the means to do digital transformation towards a digital business, but IT operations is still responsible, and that's the thing we're trying to provide.
Indeed. And now the third component here is code stream. If you remember, what's the reason we're here? The reason we're here is because customers are building applications and services to deliver to their line of business so you can sell more stuff to your users, the consumer. And this involves building software and deploying software. And when we look at that in organizations, require continuous integration, continuous delivery pipelines. Now, continuous integration, I mean, I think it's well served within the ecosystem. I think there's a lot of continuous integration technologies. A lot of people are using things like Jenkins. When it comes to continuous delivery, we've actually got some pretty good technology with CodeStream. We use it ourselves. This is what we've used. This is what we've built for ourselves. We use it internally to ship our product. And hopefully you're seeing the results of our transformation, how we've gone through digital transformation ourselves within VMware. We've turned our on-premises products to SaaS products. We're delivering code into our SaaS products frequently every day. And we use continuous delivery technology from CodeStream to do that. So this is something that will help you deploy and help you round out your CI/CD capabilities. So let's look now at some of the value propositions. So why, that's great. I've talked about some great technologies, but why would I want to do it? Well, accelerate service and code them. Get your projects out on time, or get more projects out. When I'm speaking to customers, usually what they've got is a pipeline of projects. It's usually this big. And we know, and they know, that they're only going to deliver a certain proportion of those projects. At the end of the day, if they are using this technology, we would expect them to be able to increase the number of projects that they can get out of the door in a given year. And that is really compelling for customers. So accelerating how quickly you can bring your services out of the door in a very quality way. Okay, enhancing collaboration. So the ability to team across different development teams, because one of the problems, so one of the things that are happening now is developing within the microservices space. This means you have small development teams doing small bits of a bigger service. So these teams need to be able to collaborate well under single platforms, and this helps you do that. So again, this gets back to accelerate service and code delivery. This helps you bring software out more quickly in high quality. Then there's choice. People sometimes think VMware, we're 100% focused on premises and everything runs on vSphere. It's not the case. We're all quite pragmatic in this organization. We know that the mega clouds are mega clouds, and our customers know these clouds are mega clouds. They're using Amazon, they're using Azure, they're using Alibaba, they're using Google Compute, and we can't tell people that's not the right way. You've got to use these other. They need choice.
In the sense, it's the same way as we did with the original virtual infrastructure product. You had the choice of either using Dell, HP, IBM, whatever you wanted to run it on. That was your preferred choice. We would then manage it through the virtual infrastructure. And that's the same thing we're now going after from a cloud management perspective. You've got the choice if you either want to run it on your vSphere-based cloud on-prem in your own data center, or you want to consume it through AWS, Azure, whatever you want to use. The question then becomes, how do you all manage it? And that's why we try to provide a whole holistic platform. And the thing that we're trying to achieve is that, again, IT operations is in control. And basically, this is a little bit of a move towards this new cloud operations platform. And actually, there's a little bit of a shift. Even Matt just talked about that we are even transitioning towards a SaaS-based model. And that's a little bit of the vision. We, over the last decade, have been creating products that you would have to install and manage yourself. We now see the trend that people are consuming public cloud services, and they're getting used to consuming as a service from AWS and Azure. It doesn't really make sense to then still have an installable product. So we're moving into the space where we want to create this cloud operations platform. And the thing we're trying to address is basically this public cloud adoption. So why are customers, consumers of VMware, using public clouds? Basically for developer speed. If you look at what the developers are trying to do within customers, they're trying to deliver the application as soon as possible. If you can get a service by the click of a button or through an API call, that's the thing they're trying to realize. And one of the key things why people are moving towards the public cloud is that, well, Matt just said it, mega clouds, it's infinitive scale. You can just push services on top of it, not something you can deliver with the private cloud. And on the other hand, there is, from a business perspective and from strategic IT investment perspective, customers are looking for global deployment. They're looking for a faster time to market. And basically what they want to do is to rapidly iterate between all the projects that they have. If you've been to Amazon reInvent a couple of weeks ago, well, they push out more services than any internal organization can push out. But the question remains from how do you all going to manage it? And that's why we moved into the space. So we see a lot of customers consuming AWS, Microsoft, and Google. But there's a couple of challenges in there, because all of a sudden, if you start to consume all those services, from an IT operations perspective, you not only need to manage multiple clouds, but it becomes thousands and thousands of objects, services, containers, all kinds of things that you need to manage again. And the fact is also that a lot of customers are using multiple cloud accounts. Sometimes even if you look at the large enterprises, there's hundreds of cloud accounts across all the company. And nobody knows what's actually happening in those accounts. And that's why we try to provide a tool which can basically provide you with all the capabilities to manage all those tools. Because it gets highly complex, because there's different cloud accounts, there's different teams that are managing different clouds. There's no visibility for IT operations, which, well, also means that management doesn't really have a clue how much gets spent. on all the different cloud accounts, because it creates a lot of problems. There's low visibility and on the increased spend. We don't really know what's happening. Of course, if somebody in the organization has control over what can be deployed, well, they can just deploy about anything they want to have. So there's no efficient use of all the things that you're trying to address. The other thing that's not under control is the security and compliance, especially if you look at the large enterprises. They need to comply with all kinds of regulations. If you don't know what you currently have deployed with all the big cloud providers, how can you then make sure that you're in compliant, that you're compliant and secure and adhering to all the rules that basically happen?
So I think what you're saying really there is, when we're moving to the public cloud, the hybrid cloud, different things become more important. I think when we were in the public cloud, we were really focused on the mechanics and the operations and the resolving of the complexity. Well, public cloud providers such as Amazon, Azure, Google, they've solved all those problems. So there's different problems that we have to solve. And I think the problems we really solve, and I think our analysts reflected that with us, is in the public cloud, the two big problems are governance and its cost. Yeah. And that's exactly what these challenges at the top talk to is how do I get that governance and control back, and how do I understand my cost and management costs?
Yeah, and that's where we have a vision from what do the public clouds needs, and that's service capabilities, so that you can get visibility and cost management, that you basically have a full visibility on all the different clouds that you're consuming. If it's AWS, Azure, Google, Ali Cloud at some point, then the question becomes from what am I all managing? So you want to do cost, security, compliance, full visibility, so that you can provide governance across all those resources. And we discussed about cloud automation. Well, that comes neatly. And if you want to automate across clouds or use the native cloud tooling, it's all fine, but you need to be aware of it. And that's what IT operations is all about. But this slide is specifically about public cloud needs, but actually it's about hybrid cloud needs. What we want to move towards is to provide you a cloud operations platform that can not only govern the public cloud resources, but also can govern your private cloud. Again, we've got a vast amount of experience of creating private clouds using our VBLI's product. We're now evolving that experience into a multi-cloud platform. The evolution going from the VBLI's automation, moving that into cloud automation services is a first step. But we want to do that for all the different capabilities you now currently see on the screen. I think the vision that we have is to provide products that address all those service capabilities. So you now see a couple of names: Cloud Health, Secure State, Wavefront. We've already talked about cloud automation, but these are all services that VMware provides to the VMware Cloud Services to address all the service capabilities that we need to manage across clouds, both private and public cloud.
So the big announcement at VMworld US was Cloud Health. Can you tell us a little bit more about Cloud Health then?
Well, Cloud Health has been an acquisition. So they were the leader in public cloud operations. They were very good at doing cost management. If you currently see on the slide, they currently manage 5 billion plus on cloud spend. Imagine that. They are managing $5 billion of cloud spend across multiple customers and providing insight of how customers are using the private cloud from a cost perspective. And really, the key thing that I got back on the acquisition, their business models, they go in and they tell you from, okay, this is your cloud spend, and we actually want to reduce it, which is kind of a weird thing. Yeah. Typically, a company comes in and wants to make more money, but actually it provides customers full visibility of what they're currently spending on their cloud. But actually, they're doing a lot more. It's actually the first step. If you have visibility of what you're managing and you know what the cost is, you can also look into security and compliance. You can provide governance, and you can basically integrate all these kinds of services to create a platform which manages all the things. That's the key thing. And we see a lot of customers now maturing. They're moving from private cloud now into this multi-cloud world where they're consuming a vSphere-based cloud, they're consuming AWS, they're consuming Azure, and we're now providing this platform across. And I think Cloud Health is actually a natural fit for VMware, where we provide the experience that we have from the private cloud, building that together with what Cloud Health has been successful at managing public cloud resources, and combining that towards our customers to create a platform to do operations across all those clouds from a cost, a security, and a governance perspective. I think that's the key goal. And one of the key things that we're addressing, so there was already a little bit of security compliance in Cloud Health, but we actually did another acquisition called Cloud Choreo. The announcement that we did at VMworld is a new product or a new service called VMware Secure State, which is basically an evolution. It gives you the ability to provide compliance across, at the moment, AWS and Azure, but of course we're going to expand that to multiple clouds, but have full insight if something's compliant to the rules that you need to address to from a company perspective. It's a SaaS-based offering. It requires no agents, but it gives you full visibility. Am I compliant or not? Are there things happening in my environment that are not according to my policies? And then report back to it and say hey, hello, something's happening in one of the cloud accounts in the public cloud. Please take an action. That's being compliant. It gives you the availability to do real-time security event detection. And if you then detect that, to be able to take the appropriate action to be compliant again. I think that's the key goal. IT operations needs to make sure that the company is compliant across both private and public cloud. And of course, you currently see this is not a fully compliant product yet, but this is a vision we're currently set straight. The thing is, I always compare it a little bit with the software-defined data center vision we had 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago, we came on stage and said, we are going to deliver to you the software-defined data center on compute, storage, and network. We actually delivered vSphere, NSX, vSAN, built you this complete software-defined data center, even fully automated with vCloud Foundation. I think the key thing that we're now trying to address for our customers is that we are going to do the same thing across clouds. So across VMware-based clouds and AWS, Azure, Google, and whatever comes next, to provide you a platform which gives you full visibility on cost, security, compliance, governance, and full insight of what actually is happening inside of those clouds. I think that's the vision that we are trying to achieve from a VMware perspective. One of the key announcements, of course, was the acquisition of Cloud Health. We already acquired Cloud Choreo, but there's a vision currently going on. We're trying to put all the pieces together and in the end provide you this cloud operations platform to manage all the things. Private cloud, public cloud, VM, container, platform as a service, native cloud services, whatever, we will provide you with the services and the tools to be able to govern across clouds. And that's where we get back to this whole vision that we have from a VMware Cloud perspective. Hopefully this picture gets a little bit brighter after seeing our presentation. And the key thing is really the green box. It's about operating and providing full visibility across all those cloud resources. And in the end, to deliver some of a consistent consumer experience, but for IT operations to have consistent operations tooling and to provide that on top of consistent infrastructure.
And what does that mean for the business then? This is what it's all about.
I always have, and to finish this one off, I have the simple analogy. Business consumes applications, applications run on infrastructure. But in the end, and that's the game where we're currently at from an IT operations perspective, we are here to empower the business. And the business is currently going into this journey of digital transformation. Digital transformation is not a goal, that's basically a process. The goal is to become a digital business. And a digital business means that people can consume your services, most of the times through applications, delivering the services. What we need to do from an IT operations perspective, and what we do from VMware, from a day-to-day business, is empowering our friends in IT operations to serve the developers who in the end empower the business. That's the key goal that we are trying to achieve. We're more than happy to help our customers with.
Cool. So hopefully that was interesting, informative. Hopefully you've learned quite a lot about our cloud automation services, about our strategy, about our operations capabilities, and now about our cloud health services. We're going to stay on the line for another 10 minutes or so. If you've got any questions, we'll take questions. I hope you enjoy that. Hope you have a great rest of day, and we're glad you listened to us.
Thanks.
You. Any questions?